So thanks for joining us for our special Living with Spirit event. We're going to be talking about our experiences with living and connecting with souls on the other side, because some of us who you're going to be hearing from in a few moments have had that experience of not just doing readings for people who wish to connect with a loved one on the other side, but actually we have ongoing contact. Some of us more than others in our group. But my special guests, my friends are joining me, and they are Swati Nigam, who is probably had the most effect on my connection with Alan, and I'll talk about that later. And also Maria Rodrigues Pereria, who is another dear friend who Alan made contact with early on, and she's had some amazing experiences with him. And then lastly, but not least, Shaun Lether, who's my co-host, who's going to be helping me run things behind the scenes here. He's also going to share his experience with his mother and other experiences he's had, because all of them are amazing psychic mediums and just amazing human beings. So I'm just so grateful that they're joining me today. But before we get started, let me just give you a quick rundown about who we are, because not all of you know Alan and myself. I don't want to get really into that. I don't want to be this all about me and Alan. But basically, the reason I'm here today is because 16 months ago, well, now it's almost going to be 17 months ago, Alan passed away on his birthday. He was a psychic medium. He died at age 83 on his birthday, came back and said that he had chosen that day to make a statement that we all choose when we're going to exit. And he had selected that day. And much to my surprise, began coming through first to Swati, who heard him, saw him. She saw him even before he passed. He showed up at her to say goodbye. I'll let her explain that. But she has been in contact with him ever since. And what happened, because Swati was sharing that with me, was he started to come through to me, like through his giving me his love. It was some information, some communication, but it was really energetic. It was really like these love class. And I could feel that he was there, even though I was crying. I wasn't making it up. I thought it was strange, but he was there, and other people started to confirm the same thing. So basically what happened very quickly is he made his presence known. He started having me write what he was trying to say to me. He asked me to form a Facebook group. He told me we were going to write a book, that we were going to teach people how to connect with their loved one on the other side, like he and I were going to do, which of course was completely unknown to me because he had just come back. I said, how are we going to do that? I don't know how to do this. And he said to me that, well, you're going to learn. And in learning that, we're going to write the manual. So what I've had to go through was a lot of ups and downs and all arounds and confusing things and the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. I had my heart broken several times. This is not a ride for the faint of heart, but it is the most incredible transformative journey. And I had to go through all that so that I could teach others how to navigate this incredible experience. Okay, because to me, it is a spiritually transformative experience, bar none, because you reconnect with your loved one on the other side. They are pure unconditional love. They can give you that unconditional love finally. They probably weren't able to when they were here, but now they can. But you have to do some work on yourself, which I've had to do. And it's transformed me. So that's kind of our story. And I don't want to go too much again about Alan. If you want to learn more, please, if you're not already in our group, join our Facebook group. It's called Supernatural Love and Life After Death. And join us there. There'll be more about that there. You can also check out our website, soulauthority.com, and join the wait list for our book. That's soul as in SOUL, soulauthority.com. And yeah, get on the wait list for our book when it comes out. We're also going to be teaching a course to people on our wait list, offer it to our wait list. And if you're interested in that, then get on our wait list because you'll get notified of that. But that's it for me. I want to turn things over to Swati here, my dear friend, who really, if she had been in my life, I don't think I would be here right now. I don't know that I would really connected with Alan. Well, I probably would have, but not not easily. I think it would have been completely chaotic. And so she really helped me both before he passed away, when he passed away, and up until this day. So Swati, can I have you come on? And I'm going to leave the stage to you, so to speak.
Hi, everyone. So that was a beautiful, beautiful introduction, Pam. I mean, I've known Pam for many, many years, and it seems like I even started opening to mediumship through her family, even before Helen, when her brother was sick. And that was many years ago. I don't remember when, 2006 or sometime. And for me, I am very, like, I will fight for people's life till the very end. Even if they have clearly said that they are going to cross over, my duty, I know, is to fight till the very end. And so Pam had accepted it gracefully that her brother was going to cross over, and I kept talking to him in my mind and telling him, no, you can heal and this and that. And he didn't. And he told me that I told him that because you're Pam's brother, you're my brother too. And he crossed over. He did tell me that, yes, you are my sister, but I need to go. And that was, I think, my first ever mediumship as such. And after that, another medium came through after he crossed over. And she came and he spoke through her and said those very words that I had been speaking to him, which was so clear. It was amazing. And that's really literally what opened me up to the beauty of mediumship. Connecting to the ones that we have lost, supposedly lost, is beautiful. And Alan and Pam's story is extremely important because of their purpose. The purpose of their story is to stand here as an example for everyone, that you don't really lose anyone, no matter what others tell you. There is this popular belief that, if they've died, you've got to let them go and move on. They don't want to talk to you, you're disturbing them, and blah, 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 blah. That is not true. And their beautiful story tells us how you can continue, no matter where they are, in which dimension, you can continue being in touch and continue your relationship with your loved ones. Alan and I had been friends for a long time too. I talked more with Pam, but Alan and I were similar in many ways, which we are seeing even now. So we are the crazy makers together. So when he, as you all know, he did have dementia, and towards the very end, it was hard to speak to him directly, but his soul was very, very coherent, and he would speak to me. And true to my nature, I kept on fighting till the very end, telling him, no, you can heal yourself and you can stay back. I don't want Pam to be alone and all of that. And he was so funny. Instead of giving me a very serious answer, he says, no, I am not coming back, in that kind of a way. And I was like horrified. What are you talking about? Aren't you? Isn't this like very sad? My friend here will be left alone. How dare you? And all of that. And I was seeing him in a sort of a line. I was wondering, what line is this? Where is he going? What is he doing? So then I saw, oh, he was sightseeing. He was visiting heaven, as all of us do when we have to cross over. We go up and down, we go and look where we are going, and we keep coming back into the body. So he was there and he was showing me, and he was saying, this is so nice. I don't want to. And he did not tell me why at that time, but he just said, no, I'm not coming back. Okay, but I kept arguing with him. And then on his birthday, I was woken up with a very cheerful voice telling me, I'm going. And I'm like, seriously, Alan, that can't be true. This is your birthday. If you cross over today, that'll be horrible for Pam. And I went quickly to look into Pam's Facebook because I thought he was gone. And then I saw that Pam had not posted any such thing. So I was very relieved. I thought, oh my God, I was just imagining it. He didn't really say that he was going, but no, he did go. He did go that day itself. And very, very, very quickly, it was like gone there and back. within moments, you would say he was back. And then he's sounding happier than ever, more cheerful than ever. And almost every day he tells me, when I see what a beautiful impact he and Pam are having on people and clearing people's misconceptions and showing them how they can connect with their loved ones, and they don't have to, there is no losing their loved ones, that I think, oh wow, this is awesome. And then he says to me, see, isn't it nice that I died? Isn't it good that I died? Or if I'm worrying about Pam and thinking, oh, but she's alone, I tend to worry about Pam a lot. Even though she has told me, she tells me all the time, she's like, she's probably sick and tired of me, keeps telling me not to. But I worry, oh my God, what, she's alone. What if she's feeling lonely? And his funniest thing was, he tells me, what do you mean? You think, you mean to say I'm dead? he's, he's really funny. And I did talk a lot. I was the telephone between Pam and him in the beginning, till Alan said, no, enough is enough. Pam is extremely clairaudient, very clear cognizant. She can hear me very easily. So let her speak. Let her speak to me directly. And she found that she didn't need anyone else, and she could talk to him very, very easily. So that is my story about where I fit in with. Pam's family has been like, right from the beginning, has been getting me into mediumship. And then by the time it was time for Alan, I was into it. So I think that's a good enough introduction so far.
Did you want to share anything about who you connect with in your family? Because I know you do, you have talked to your brother who's on the other side, your mother-in-law.
I've talked to my brother. My brother died in 2013. All these brothers seem to really suck, they all die. No matter what I tell them. So Alan has been like a big brother to me. Pam's brother, my brother, they're all such, they totally suck. I told them all not to die, but they all died anyway. They don't listen to me. So they suck. And I talked to my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my mother. It's just very easy. I've seen that it's very, very easy. When I'm not thinking of, oh, now I shall sit and call someone to talk, then so when I try doing anything like that, then it doesn't happen. If I'm just sitting around doing whatever, they keep popping in and talking anyway. So yes, it's actually a very, very easy and a very normal and a natural thing to talk to the ones who have crossed over to the higher dimensions. It's very clear, very clear.
Well, would you say that in your experience, then they just kind of pop up? Like it's not so much summoning them, although I guess you could, but they pop up and just go with it.
They just, with me, I don't call myself a professional medium, despite all of this that I've been doing. I usually connect with the angels very easily. But then the more I say, oh, I'm not a professional medium, the more they prove me wrong. Because when I'm doing life coaching, or when I'm doing a healing session or angel reading, and then I just tell them that, I don't know if your departed loved ones will come or not. I just sit and talk with them, with the person I'm reading for. And then slowly I see people sauntering in one by one. I see them on Zoom session behind them. And then I start telling them. So with mediumship, I make sure that I always get the identity first, because I want to make sure. So I tell them, don't tell me what they look like or anything about them. And then I start giving them the description of what I'm seeing. So when I get the identity correct, that this is what I'm seeing, he or she is the one, and then they give those words that are just correct between those two, and there's no way for me to know. Then I say that yes, this is mediumship. Otherwise, they give messages anyway, even if I don't identify them. Their messages come anyway, and I don't know whether they'll come from the angels or from your departed loved ones, from God, your higher self. I don't know. They just come. And I have never tried summoning anyone from the spirit world. They just come on their own. They have always come on their own. And Alan is think he's the easiest because we share so much crazy interest together, and we can talk so much craziness that Pam sometimes tells us both to go sit in the corner. So
That's
yeah, I
right.
don't summon them. I don't summon them, but they do come on their own, and I let them come on their own.
Yes, so just so everyone's clear,
On
you
their own
can't
terms.
you can't
Yes.
summon the dead, or they're not dead, but
No.
you can't summon them. That's why Alan did and wasn't comfortable doing mediumship, because he said he never knew if they were going to show up. But
Yeah.
a true medium will have sessions where they don't show up, and they have to be okay with that. Well,
Yep.
he was not okay with that. He wasn't comfortable, so he just did psychic readings. Just so people understand, if you go to a medium and they never say they can't connect, you got a question like, I think they're reading the client's aura. I think they're reading the client. They're not reading the deceased loved one. So people don't all understand that. But that's possible. Thanks, Swati. Is there anything else you want to share? I'm sure we'll hear more from you a bit.
I think that's about it all. Just remember, everybody, that if anyone ever tells you that you've got to forget them and leave them or let them go and that you're disturbing them, please don't believe it. If you want, come and read the stuff that Pam writes in the group. You will see that they want to be disturbed. There are two very beautiful books. I've forgotten. Alison, what's her name? The medium. There is one book that she's written where the name is Don't Kiss Them Goodbye.
Oh, you must mean Alison Dubois. You must mean
Yes, yes, yes. And then the other one was You Are Their Heaven. So yeah, they don't want you to get rid of them. Please don't get rid of them. That's all.
Okay, thanks, Swati. Thanks so much. Let's move to Maria.
Hi.
Here you go. You can share your whatever. I know you've had experience with your grandpa who lives with you, and of course, well, Alan. You can explain your relationship with Alan, but why he's moved in, why he lives in your garage.
Well, that's the room we gave him. It was the only available room in the house. Alan started talking to me pretty much almost immediately after he crossed over. And at first I didn't think he was talking to me. I didn't believe that that's what it was. But the more I texted with Pam and Pam would say, oh yeah, he's saying this, the more I would be like, yeah, he just told me that too. So I started getting confident in the fact that I was actually hearing him. And about 6 months into it, right, Pam? Wasn't that how long it took before he told me our relationship?
Well, it wasn't. It's been kind of recent, hasn't it, that he actually came out and said that you're our soul daughter.
Yeah.
And I just smacked my forehead and went kind of like, what? How come I didn't figure that out? But he told you.
Yeah, he did. I think I started having a feeling that he was my soul dad, probably around the time that I went to Hawaii. So that was about 6 months ago. But he had not told me the story, and he didn't tell me the story until recently.
Well, yeah. I think I should have gotten the inkling when I was talking to you, and he was giving me the word pumpkin to call you, like, okay, he's calling you pumpkin. And I go, what? Like, I just clear as day, I saw pumpkin show up in my mind's eye, and I told you, and you said that was what your mom called you when you were a child.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I was still so slow. I didn't go, okay, well, then I guess she was our soul family. He says, yeah, I'm too slow.
But yeah, so it's and the transition from at that point when he told me the whole story of our soul family, the transition from referring to calling him dad and calling you mom when we're talking was just seamless. And sometimes I have to remember who I'm talking to, because like if I'm talking to my earth mother, I won't say, oh yeah, because mom just said. I'm like, no, wait a minute, Pam just said. So I do have to remember that. But basically from the get-go, Alan decided he wanted to move in, and he was always here. I mean, I could always hear him. I would say he was loud, because when it came to a joke, there was just absolutely no way that I could not hear him. And then I started noticing that a lot of the jokes that he would play on me, because he would play jokes on me and on my husband. And I have to tell you about those jokes. But I started noticing that my grandfather was coming through too. And my grandfather began showing a knack for making my things disappear. He would hide them from me. So there was a comb that I use, and it disappeared for like 2 months. I couldn't find it. And then one day it showed up in the drawer where it always used to be, in just a slightly different place. I was like, this is incredible. And then there was the one time these glasses disappeared, and I looked for them, and I was like, I can't go without my glasses. I need to read. I need to be able to see my work. So finally I grabbed another pair of glasses that I had, and then these showed up underneath a rocking chair that nobody in the house uses, to include me. Just nobody uses that. So it was kind of insane how things would just disappear in the house. And my husband was like the biggest skeptic of all. And he would be like, well, I wouldn't say he's the biggest skeptic, but in this household, he was the biggest skeptic of us all. And he'd be like, no, are you sure that you didn't put those glasses under the rock? Are you sure you weren't sitting there and you put the glasses down and the cats knocked it over? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. I wouldn't do that. I never sit in that chair. So things started happening in the house. One day, my husband is a creature of habit, and he took the dogs out in the morning. He came back in every day. He comes back in, he locks the door. So I'm sure he did that. He came back in that day, he locked the door. He went to make his coffee. As he's walking down the hallway, he sees the front door open, and the dogs are sitting outside, plus a cat. So there were my 2 dogs plus a cat, all sitting on the front steps, looking out, and the door was wide open. And he came in, he says, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm beginning to feel like somebody's picking on me. And lots of little things like that, especially during the course of 1 week, started to happen to him. It was that incident. The other incident was, the water on the fridge that just kind of like inundated underneath our fridge. And we thought there could be something wrong with the fridge. So we covered everything up with towels. And next thing we knew, the fridge was fine, and just decided to flood the house briefly. And James was once again, well, really? Somebody's picking on me. So, but it's just been little adventures. I don't really have, just little things here and there, and they just have made themselves part of our daily lives. And Grandpa, always up to something, and Alan talking, and then Alan also helps me with a lot of my artwork too. So there's that when I'm working with him, and I enjoy it. So I think that's about it. I'm just,
Yeah. So would you say for you that there's been any challenge in this, that you just kind of allowed it to just happen and you went with it? And okay, but I'm also feeling like you went through a lot of changes just by kind of letting this all happen, and letting it, and your husband, and James, he's gone through a lot. So what I've seen with people is that, yeah, this kind of changes even like your whole family, like
Yeah.
this thing. And if you just go with the experience and but
Yeah.
and
Well,
believe, right? And believe, even though James was saying, well, the orb you saw must have been dust. and the little things that you don't, and you can't explain away everything. I think all of us have these experiences and just think, oh, that must be something else, right? Like,
yeah.
that's too, we're not owning it. And then if we don't own it and say, I don't know what that was, but something happened, if we don't at least own that, then more won't happen.
Mhm.
So I think it's important that we accept it instead of going, oh, that can't be. Because when you do that, it's like you're pushing that away and
Yeah.
negating it. And we might not be able to understand exactly what happened, but just say to yourself, I know something happened.
Yeah.
I don't know
I think
exactly what.
the biggest challenge for anyone is grief.
Yeah.
I do think my grandfather tried to talk
Yeah.
to me once he crossed over. I had very, very, very vivid dreams with him. But every time I woke up from one of the dreams I had with him, I felt like I had lost him all over again. So I grieved a
Right.
lot. And it took me years and years to really start letting go of that grief. And once I started doing that, I realized that I could talk about him without falling apart.
Part.
And I would play games, the same kind of games that he would play with us when we were little. I was doing it with my own kids and realizing that I was connecting to my grandfather in that way. But I didn't really talk to Grandpa, really connect and talk to him and be able to see him in my mind's eye until after Alan showed up. I mean, Alan opened that door for me.
Because that's an important point, because a lot of people who are grieving, they want so much to see their loved one, and other people might see them before they do. But it's the grief that is keeping them away, that kind of back off, because what I know now, is they're so empathic. So your grandpa was probably missing you too. And if he's feeling your intense grief, and then he has his grief, especially in the beginning, that he misses you, he's just gonna project all his grief onto you too. And before you know it, you're all crying even more than you would have cried on your own. So they kind of have to pull back. It's not because they don't love us, because they're trying to take care of us and say, well, she's not ready. I can't really move all in. And now you were, because Alan was there and you realized, okay, they're not dead, they're here. And you were ready. However long it took you to get ready, you were ready. So you could now begin to feel him and see him. And he was pulling those pranks, because he was a prankster like Alan, right? Like, well, Alan didn't really pull pranks. Alan was more funny. Your grandpa liked to pull pranks.
Oh,
right?
yes, he was terrible. He was terrible when he was in a body, and he's continues to be terrible now. And everybody here just thinks I've lost my mind because something disappears, and I'm like, oh, my grandpa took it. Grandpa, bring it back.
Yeah, you got to have a talk with him about that one. That's really convenient. But what can you say? So they do maintain their personality, as you've seen with your grandpa being a prankster, and Alan maintained his personality. He's actually trying to tone down some of that personality, as we know, because he's kind of been a little bit of a problem. But they do have their personality so that we can recognize them. Otherwise, we wouldn't know, like, who is this? So some loved ones cross over and they seem different, because and they can be very different. A lot of people say they don't seem the same, and in many respects, of course, they're not. But some of them are still exactly the same. Some of them seem like markedly changed. I've heard from people with that too. So you're really not sure what to expect, but just know that the essential part of them, stays the same. So we will be able to recognize them. Thanks, Maria. Thanks, Maria, for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Be talking more in a bit later, but now thanks so much again, Maria and Swati. We're going to move to Shaun, who is a new old friend.
I'm here. Yeah, some people do change quite a bit though, because, like, for example, my niece, who her mother is here in this room, she had autism. So she doesn't have the autistic mind. So that's, in addition to shedding her body, she saw everything different. So if somebody were to expect that she's gonna be her autistic self, they won't hear her. It's not her autistic
Right,
self.
right,
So,
right. She comes
yeah.
back healthy and whole and clear-minded. So I'm glad you pointed that out, because that's right. I forgot to say that. Sometimes they'll come back transformed because now they're free. So yeah, please share more of that.
Yeah. So around 2015 sometime, my mom passed away. Before this, I'd grown up having all these experiences, denied them, and then went off in the material world. So I didn't really have, I had stopped trusting my intuition and what I was hearing. And around 2015, when my mom died, within a couple of days, she came to me. And I'm going to make this real quick, but she told me that I didn't need to go to where they were having the memorial, which they weren't going to have a memorial at first, and then they decided at the end, and it was in Utah, where I'm from. And she told me that I didn't need to go, and she showed me where I would be, or where she would be. And she just said, go, because my mom's into plants, I was into plants. And she showed me a garden and said, go here, this is where I'll be. Well, she was, and in this picture, she was sitting on a log with these tall trees that didn't really look like Hawaii, because it was more like Utah mountains, or, it looked like more like pine trees. But anyway, she showed me this place. I didn't know where it was. I didn't go there. About within a year of that, so she started coming to me after that, and a lot, and I'd felt her even touch me, and well, grab my arm actually. And so my sister came, and we were sightseeing. And as we're sightseeing, many people may know Hawaii has lots. It's like a vortex. It's one of the like 12 in the world. But anyway, there's a lot of areas here where some people call them portals and stuff. And I didn't really know anything about this until this started occurring to me. But as we were driving around sightseeing, me and my sister, like I started getting like vertigo kind of symptoms. And we were at some of these places I had never been. And it turns out later, a tree that we were under up in Manoa Falls, by Manoa Falls, is where a lot of other people have seen night marchers. If you can Google night marchers sometimes in Hawaii. Anyway, so as the day went on, the morning went on, we were driving more. And we're actually driving up past Pam's house. But of course, I didn't know Pam. And the mountain's only like what, 3,000 or 4,000 feet, if you could barely even call it a mountain, but it is. And so we were going up to this park that I'd found that I'd never been to, that we wanted to go see, that I felt called to go see. And as we're going up the road, up the mountain, I was getting more and more dizzy. And I was born in Salt Lake City, lived in the mountains, went to preschool in the mountains. I had a cabin at 500 feet. So I don't get altitude sickness, especially going up a 3,000 foot hill, but it felt like altitude sickness. And as we finally got to the top, I was completely delirious, got out of the car, did a face plant, and then we relaxed for a while, and I kind of pulled it together, and we went for a walk. And as we were going on this walk through these they're called ironwoods here, I think, and they look like a pine tree, but they're more tropical. And so it actually looked like a forest in Utah up there. And as we're walking through, I look over to the left, and there's my mom sitting on the log that she had shown me a year before. And I saw her as clear as could be, even though it was, not solid, but a little bit translucent, but as clear as could be, she was there. From then on, more and more experiences. She never told me why she was here. Then I had an NDE. Within a year or so after that, and it turned out that's why she was here, to help me, because I pretty much died and it was done for me. My sisters came back, threw out everything out of my apartment and to say goodbye. And so my mom, and that's the kind of the message here, is that they're here to help us. And so like in my case, my mom literally made sure that I got out of that ICU, and then made sure for the last 3 years that I, am surviving and taken care of. So that's that's kind of why I'm here, is to help share that message, is that our loved ones are constantly trying to get a hold of us and trying to help us. They're always looking out for us. And it's only us and our false beliefs that is what prevents us from hearing. So then luckily, Pam lives on that mountain. So my mom brought Pam and Alan, and I'll just share really quick with Alan. Because I'm kind of new to this whole world, and I had experienced stuff with my mom and then other people. And so it was funny. When I first met Pam, I was wondering, like, okay, I wonder how long this is going to take. And I think it took a few days before I could feel him. And then it was like on the 6th day, a friend of mine was having a problem. And I was like, oh, you should go see my friend Pam. And then all of a sudden, Alan starts talking to me and telling me what to tell this friend. So that was pretty cool. So anyway, I'm just here to share that they are here to help us if we just listen. So,
can you share about how, do you feel up to sharing about how they've helped you heal? Like how your mom and Alan, if you feel up to it, but because I know that they actually can heal us. And that's,
yes,
I think,
thank you for reminding me.
Understand that their loved ones on the other side are powerful healers. Because if you think about it, everybody, a lot of people here, including a lot of you on this watching, are healers. We're all born healers. And so, what do you think happens when you cross over? Well, more likely than not, you step into more of your abilities, right? And they still love us, so they still watching over us. They still want to help us. So if they're able to, they can come in and help us to heal. And I believe that that's why sometimes people have spontaneous healings. And a lot of people are giving all the credit to the angels, but in my view, like, our loved ones are angels too. So, we should include them. Like, they're healing us too. Don't give it all to, some archangel that you don't have a personal relationship with necessarily. But what if it was your mother or your grandfather or whoever? But you feel like sharing that? Because I thought that was so cool what you experienced. Because I've experienced Alan healing me when I was well.
And so I should probably be, so thank you for reminding me. You're gonna have to, because I was exposed to COVID the other day. So that's part of, the other week, right? How long? So that's part of what Pam's alluding to is, and so I'm having all the symptoms of COVID right now, actually. And the first test came back positive or negative, but it was a rapid one. So I'm going to get another one on Tuesday. But the first way that they helped me is my nephew, who had died of cystic fibrosis in 2007. When I was in the ICU, I'd been on life support for, I don't know how long, over a week, 2 weeks. Anyway, as they were taking the tube out to see if I could breathe, because you can't stay on those for very long, or I guess the longer you're on them. My nephew died of cystic fibrosis. He was at the end of the bed, and if you guys have seen that, I always forget the cartoon. He puffed up his chest, and as the tube was coming out, he took a deep breath, showing me how to breathe. And then as the tube came out, he then breathed into me and helped me breathe. So I wasn't able to, for about 2 months after that, I couldn't keep the saturation. I had to wear an oxygen mask. But so that's the first way that somebody really has helped me through the other side, literally. And then from then, my mom and him have helped all the way. So there was another period about 2 months, 3 months after getting out of the rehab hospital, where I got really sick again and I was scared. And I literally heard my mom say, he's had enough. Like, I heard her, she yelled it. within about, and I had a fever of 101. I was really in bad shape. I was scared. And after she yelled out, within like 2 hours, the fever was gone. I was completely feeling better again. So there's been many experiences like that with her, and other ones that I call the gang, which is my nephew and other people. But so this latest experience, I was exposed to COVID, and I didn't know I was exposed to COVID, and I got sick over Christmas. Pam and I were going to have Christmas at her house, and I couldn't make it, luckily. And turned out like this last Tuesday that I'd been exposed to COVID by somebody who comes and cleans. And when I found out that I'd been exposed to COVID, all of a sudden I had these feelings, which I've had in the past from my mom and other people, that my term that I shared with Pam is like a celestial scrubbing. Like I felt, so when Alan and my mom at first, it felt like they were trying to come into me when they were communicating. So it kind of felt like that. And then warm and these full tingles all over my body. I didn't know what was happening. I thought, oh God, this is another COVID symptom or something. And I was nervous because if I get COVID because of my lungs, it's not good. So I felt this, and it was just the weirdest feeling. And I started feeling a little bit better. So that was Monday night. And then Tuesday night, late Tuesday night, I felt the same sensation again. So then on Wednesday, I tested negative. Everybody else that has the same symptoms of me, including the girl who spread it, tested positive for COVID. And so to me, I know that this is some sort of a healing. That's what you wanted me to share, right?
Yes, that's
Okay,
what I wanted
good.
to share. That they, and I'm not trying to say that, oh wow, Alan's so special, he healed. I'm saying that many of them, I can't say all of them, but many of them do that. That's what he told me too. Alan said that they'll do what they can. And I have heard of souls who came back from the other side and to communicate, saying that, well, I left when I did because I knew my daughter, for example, was going to get stage 4 cancer, and I knew I could help her from the other side, but not from here. So I decided to leave. And I believe that that's what they do, that they've always done that through peace. Alan's saying through history, like on a soul level. I'm not saying the conscious self, right? The human self was doing that. It's more like on the soul level. Yeah, I'm going to leave because my family's going to need me. My wife's going to need me. I can do more on the other side.
Well, yeah, and like my niece Heather, who passed in July. Remember, Alan said, she hit the ground running. Like she's just like, I don't have time for this life review and everything. I'm ready to be an angel. Get to work. She is definitely happier on the other side. Yeah,
she's just like Alan. She's probably saying, "Isn't it better that I'm dead? Better for her. Better for me." She's saying, just Alan said, "Better for me. I wasn't having a good time at the end, and I was old. My body was old, right? For him." Because he was 83. So yeah, they're a lot happier over there.
Well, yeah, my niece, she showed me a picture of her body, but not her body. What she did is she showed me a pile of bricks wrapped up in a net and it being pulled off. And that was how she was explaining what it feels like to be free of her body. Like literally a ton of bricks.
Right. Oh, thanks. Okay, thanks so much. That's cool. It's cool to see what else they'll do to help you. Your mom is something. I'm gonna read what Brian Gascon was saying. Brian's one of my Reiki students because he had COVID. And by the way, Brian, I was alerted to the fact that you had COVID, and people asked me to send Alan to you. So he did, or we did go to. We're not trying to take credit for any of that, not at all. We're just letting you know that we did hear, and Alan's saying he was all over it. He was right there because he knows you. And again, they can all do that. Alan's not like the only one. But if he knows somebody and he's called on to help, he goes to help. And I have had stories of people receiving his help. And I'm sure other loved ones are doing the same thing all over the world. Okay, they're all angels. But Brian was wrote, I was also in the hospital 19 days with COVID and felt like a new beginning and being reborn. Many things happened in the hospital and after. Angels and visitors, even some evidence on video and pictures. Wow, well, we'd like to see those pictures sometime, Brian, when you feel like it, like share those. But I'm not surprised that, because no one is alone ever. It's impossible. So if anyone lost a loved one to COVID or some other condition, which my heart goes out to you, but know that if they were alone, they weren't alone. Nobody ever dies alone. We're surrounded by beings who love us. So you never have to worry that they felt abandoned or alone. They were comforted. They were there. Oh, Brian, I'll just reach out to you, like what email here. I'll put it in the chat in a second. But before I do, what we want to do at this point is oh, okay, well, Alan's reminding me.
Can I just acknowledge just real quick what Brian said about the new beginning? Yeah. Because that is so cool. That's what it's like for me. Like, it wasn't, they call them NDEs, but it was really a rebirth. It's like a do-over. And it's such a blessing for those of us that have had those experiences. So I'm glad that you wrote that. Yeah, it's a rebirth. I think anytime you have a serious condition and you do get that help, it is, I do think you change, right? Everything that it transforms you. So powerful. So now I want to address, Alan's one who reminded me, the questions that I shared in the announcement, right? Because the 3 questions, we at least want to cover those. We haven't done so already. The first one was, does the soul survive death? I think we're trying to prove to you that yes, the soul survives death. I'll just say this on that really quickly. Okay, so I've recently finished reading the autobiography of Leslie Flint. Leslie Flint was probably one of the most well-known physical mediums. The physical medium is someone who spirit actually speaks through. Okay, they don't give readings in the ordinary way that most mediums do. They actually help the being on the other side, the soul on the other side, come through and speak directly. It's called direct voice communication. And Alan and I actually had the opportunity to work for the physical medium. I won't say who that person was. That's a whole other fascinating discussion, but I produced events for a physical medium. I was behind the scenes and know that the phenomenon is actually real, absolutely real. But the point I want to make is, even Leslie Flint said, that people are skeptical, they're skeptical. And no matter how much evidence you give them, even presenting the person's voice coming through, in their unmistakable, dialect or whatever language, and using words and terms that only they would use, people will still go, that can't be real. They'll still think, they'll just find another reason, like, okay, well, somebody must be under the table, or somebody must have paid that person. So the problem in mediumship is that, people need to suspend that. Leslie Flint gave through so much detail. Like, he would come through with the name, birth date, address, all these specifics. Like, and this, guys, was before the internet, so you can't say he searched for it. Okay. Today, doing mediumship, I believe, is more challenging because of the internet. So I think that it's really hard, maybe almost perhaps getting impossible, for people to believe that the medium couldn't possibly have found the information, because it's all out there, all out there. So to me, when I really thought about that recently, because this was mentioned in the documentary on Netflix, Surviving Death, where we talked about that everything is out there. So I think that
what this says to me is that we're moving into time of direct contact ourselves. Like, okay, go see a medium for your first initial reading because you want to, you know, see that what that's about. But why not go direct yourself? Why not make the contact yourself? Because the other challenge is there's so many mediums out there, and quite honestly, Alan and I have always been and still remain very skeptical about mediums, extremely skeptical about mediums, not so much psychics, okay, but mediums. And this is why, and he's telling me this is important to share with everybody. He always, through all the time that I've known him, had this burning question that he would ask any teacher. He asked one teacher that we studied with, we studied mediumship with this person. And he said, well, I'm only coming because I want to ask my question. And his question was, how do you know that the medium is actually reading the deceased loved one or they're reading the client in front of them? How do you know? Okay, and he never got anybody in a physical body who could answer that question until about maybe a month ago. I happened to, I don't know how, I saw this medium's YouTube video come up, and he said, watch that. So I watch it. So there was two things he wanted me to hear. Like, she did confirm, like, yes, this is something that all mediums will tell you that, or they believe. She said, yes, we're multidimensional, because she was very much schooled in quantum physics and that whole idea of consciousness, right? And not all of them are. Not all of them are talking about researching about consciousness. So she said, yes, we're multidimensional, so we can be everywhere. We were everything. And the second thing was that on that call, somebody asked Alan's question. They actually asked that very question. And I was like, oh, this is why you wanted me to watch this. And so what she said, because she had been trained at the Arthur Finley School, which is the world-renowned training school for mediums. She said that part of their training was they had to, this took a long time, they had to sit and tune in and feel the energy, right? They had to feel like, is this the deceased loved one or not? Do I have the deceased loved one or not? Which is what it comes down to essentially is, the way you can tell, is the deceased loved one, there's a lot of emotion, which makes sense because they're still emotional beings. So she said, you'll feel more of emotion. If you don't feel that, then they're reading the aura, they're reading the client, you know? And I want to hear if Swati agrees with me on that, but that's what she said. And Alan goes, see, he goes, that's right. I learned that when I crossed over. He goes, it's about, you're reading them because you're feeling their emotion. Because otherwise, a psychic could see, you know, read everything about the deceased loved one in the aura of the client who's sitting there because they have experience, right? The other way you prove it is there's information brought through that the client doesn't know anything about. They have no knowledge of, okay? Then you know they're talking to the deceased loved one. So this is why, to me, which as fascinating as it is, and it is fascinating, it's more, to me, proof that it's time for us to go direct. It's time for us to, and it's not hard, to develop our own sensitivity to our loved ones because they're a part of us. So it's natural to connect with them. You know, we can't summon them on command, like Swati mentioned. You can't well, Alan, I can because he's always here, but that's different. But you can't ordinarily just summon them in, but you can feel them there. And Annie says that they can project their love to you. So you know that's them. You know it because you feel it. You know, I feel it viscerally. I know that's him. Nobody can tell me I'm making it up because he even taught me that I wasn't making it up on my birthday, not this past birthday, but the year before, about 13 days after he passed, where he came through so strong all day and I felt bombarded by his love and I knew it was there and I could feel it and he's talking to me. And then all of a sudden that night he was gone, like gone. And what happened? I was so devastated. I was so upset. And I searched for him. I tried to imagine him. I tried to conjure him. I tried to, and he wanted me to, because he wanted me to know that I couldn't make him up, that I couldn't just make him appear. He was either there with me or he wasn't. And I either felt him or I didn't. And so after I got finished being really upset, because I was upset, what? you abandoned me on the night of my birthday. The next morning he said, I'm so sorry, but I took the opportunity to teach you this so that you would know. And I thought about it, I said, oh God, yeah, you're right. Okay, I tried to see you and I couldn't see you the way I had been seeing him. I couldn't hear him the way I had been hearing him, but I was trying to make it up. Okay, so I experienced that, and I know that I'm either experiencing him or I'm not. He's either projecting that to me or he's not, and I can't make that up. So Swati, could you speak to that? Because I know you understand what I'm talking about, but I think this is appropriate to understand that they are here, and you can go direct, and sure, go to a great medium, but be careful who you go to, because some of them will tell you, like Swati mentioned earlier, oh, move on. They want you to move on. You're holding them back from their evolution. No, none of that. So could you speak to that to help people
Yes,
understand?
Pam, I was, when you were talking about Alan being skeptical of mediums, oh my God, I was sitting here and laughing, because that again shows how similar his thoughts and mine are. Now, me, with all of the things that I see and do and hear, I am still a very, very skeptical person, extremely left brain. In fact, so much that I always begin with, even when I talk to Archangel Michael, who I speak to most, I always begin with, if you are real. So it's become, recently I got to know that in the angelic realms and the spirit realm, they have given me a new name, which is if you are real, because I always say, if you are real, because I have to, and let me tell you, I have asked them for proof and they have given me such amazing proofs. They always do. But I still have this, oh, if you are real. So yes, Alan and I have always both been extremely skeptical. And that exact point that he said, that how do you know whether the person is reading your energy or is actually connecting to your departed loved one? That was always in my mind too. And the same way, I got to know exactly the same way too. And I got to know by doing it myself. I would also be skeptical of what I was getting, because obviously, I mean, you get your psychic senses are open. Most of us are. You can read, you can get the information from your client, from their energy. So how do I know if I'm really reading their energy or the departed loved one? And then they helped me. They helped me by doing exactly what Pam said, is the emotion. So I can get all the information. If I can get it without any emotion, then I remain skeptical. But most of the times, what happens is the way they affect me, I sometimes I have to really control myself in front of my clients, because I don't want to make a fool out of myself crying over there. But their love is so strong. They project their love so strong. All the hair stands up on my body. The tears, they start biting. I feel like biting my eyes. It's really biting, because I'm trying to fight them back. And I want to just sit there and bawl out, because the love is so strong. And that's how I know you cannot make it up, because I'm not a very emotional person, not extremely emotional. So for me to start crying like that is my proof that they are actually there, and they are connecting. And what the thing, exactly what Alan told you, Pam, is the way to know the emotions. You will feel the emotion. And but Alan, what you and I, the craziness he drives us into, he began with Pam, because I've known her so long. Pam used to be a very in the head person. Now she's very in the heart person, but she wasn't like that before. And I don't mean it as a bad thing. She needed to be in her head because of everything that she had to face alone on her own. If she was emotional, she wouldn't have been able to. But I saw this transformation when Alan crossed over, seeing her transform from head to heart. God, she and I would be talking, and then suddenly we'd start laughing crazy like maniacs. And then I'm telling her, Pam, why are you laughing? And she said, why are you laughing? Oh, no, tell me why. Why are you laughing? I don't know why. I don't know why I'm laughing. Just laughing. And it would be crazy laughter. Both of us, not just smiling and laughing like this. It would be crazy making laughter. And then we got to know that it was, yeah, Alan was there making it go.
And that was when he had just crossed over. It wasn't,
Just
I was
crossed
still
over.
grieving, and he's making me
Yes.
laugh like a crazy person. And this is just
That
nuts.
was the craziest grief that I've seen,
But-
I've watched, where
But
the grieving
interestingly,
person was going mad.
you know, I haven't
laughing.
heard, I don't know, but I haven't heard too many mediums. I know they must be empathic, obviously, but I haven't heard too many of them talk about being overwhelmed with emotion. I mean, a lot of them
Yeah.
are more like giving the message, right? Or seeing clairvoyantly. But Alan used to feel spirit trying to get in him, which
Mhm.
isn't really getting in him. He says it's more like layering over.
They merge.
So
They
the
merge.
merge, right? But he felt like they're coming in, right? And he didn't like it because he didn't want to do mediumship, remember? He's like,
Yeah.
which is funny because obviously they're trying to come in, so they're there. So why is he worried about, like, they're showing up, but he's like pushing them out. He's trying to push them out. And he's saying to me, he also didn't like it because he would get emotional because he was
Yeah,
an
and
empath,
he didn't
and
want
he
to.
didn't want to be emotional, right? You know, you and I know why,
I
but
know.
he didn't want to get into his emotions. So he's like, no, I don't want that. Yeah, no, right? But that was proof that they were there,
That is
because he
proof.
wasn't trying to read the client. He didn't even want to do the mediumship. That the loved one on their side was trying to just come in because they can see who's open, who has the ability.
Yes.
That's why they don't bother me.
No, it's not that. You just say that you have a lot of abilities, and he keeps laughing and telling me that she can do it easily. So don't say that. But
I know.
you
I
are not
can't.
as
I
skeptical as me and Alan, because we both needed proof for everything, and because we both are not very emotional. Now he's also emotional, but when he was in body, it was proof for us when we would, like, we are fighting back tears, both of us.
Yeah.
So they had to prove it to us like this, that we are actually talking to you. You're not reading the client's energy. We're talking to you.
We're talking to
'Cause-
you, right?
Yes.
So,
Can I just say two things just real quick? That
Yeah.
was really interesting with what Swati said. You know, because I'm like that too. I mean, I went to college, I had 3 degrees, graduated with honors, and I've had the most amazing experiences for the last several years that I don't even, I mean, only I can tell Pam, and, but I don't tell most people because I'd be locked up. And so what's funny is my mom, she can do these amazing things, and in that moment, it's so amazing. And then now I'm not like this, but I would go through this period where I would start doubting it. And literally, she yelled at me once, "What do you need, a burning bush?" Like literally, like.
Yeah, I
like
think
how
for
much
you,
more proof
yeah,
do you need?
you need a burning bush. You need.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure I can
other-
explain away a burning bush also. I'm that kind of a person. But it's still, they also tirelessly, and now that's why I've been renamed If You Are Real.
You're real.
And the other thing that you were saying, if you remember, Pam, so I don't do medium readings and stuff for people. I've had friends, I mean, because this is also new to me, but I've had friends who have had their loved ones pass on, and like, yeah, like I don't summon them, they just come.
They
and
just show up.
Yeah. But I did have one person, a friend of a friend, who I had done that for, who his mom had died. And he asked me to do it. And I was like, well, I don't know if I could do it on demand or anything, but I gave it a try. And so as I was sitting there, and I was completely surrendered to the fact that this may not happen. Maybe she'll come through at midnight when I'm done with him or whatever. But when she did start coming through, and the thing about the emotion, her love for him was so intense. It was as intense as what I remember in my NDE. It was so intense, I couldn't speak. I just broke down and started crying. And I didn't have to this guy. Like it was, so yeah, they sometimes through emotion, it can be really intense.
I think they do have to show that emotion, especially because, like you said, you've gone through enough. You've studied a lot. That part of studying so much is our left brain gets more and more developed, and we get more skeptical. I've got a double master's and all in science and logical fields. All of that. My favorite subject being physics, so you can imagine. So they need to show that to us, and I'm very grateful. Actually, I'm very grateful that they're not mad at me for being so skeptical. They will prove it to me again and again, and they'll make fun of me too at the same time, but they will prove it to me through this kind of means of making me so emotional that I want to cry. That makes sure proves to me without a shred of doubt, oh my God, I'm not like this. If I'm crying like this is something that's happening. It's very interesting, Pam, that you brought this up, because that is always in my mind. Whenever I get a reading from anyone, I stop getting readings, mostly because of this, because I saw that most readings from most people was reading my energy.
Right, reading you, not reading.
Yeah, reading me.
Loved one.
Not, yeah.
Because
So I thought
Alan's saying it's because they can default to that. They know they'll get a
They
reading,
default.
you see, and
Yes.
they need to perform, and they don't want to, because it's hard, because people will say that you're a fraud, right? Because you couldn't tune in.
Exactly.
So they're
Mhm.
so sensitive to that. And he says, and he was too. So he said, why would I put myself in that position, where I couldn't deliver? And then they'd say like, well, you're not good at this, or you're fake or whatever. So he
Yeah.
didn't like that. He knew that if he did a reading, he'd always get something, because spirit would come through the other side and give him information. The angels and his guides would always have the information. The deceased loved one, who knows? Like,
Yes.
he knew that because he was trained by a professional medium who told him that. He said, you won't always know if they're going to come through. And for Alan, it was like, I don't want that. I'm not going to be insecure. I don't want to. I want to know I'm going to be able to do this.
The other thing, Pam, the reason why sometimes don't come through, it's not that they don't want to come through, but it's like how we have learned that for angels, it's very easy for them to come through and talk to us, right? So
Right.
even if we are not being extremely open and psychic, angels can still come and speak to us and show up to us and do whatever. But our loved ones have to learn also, even they have to learn and speak to us. That's why it is sometimes it's not possible, because that connection has to be, angels can go through, can really
Can
take
cut
care
through
of
anything.
all the blocks. They can cut
Well,
through anything. But they have to
I
learn.
mean, Archangel Michael appeared to Alan, who didn't believe in angels at all.
Exactly.
He was making fun of me, saying, because I just was going to teach an angel workshop. Oh yeah, there's no such thing as angels. Ha 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 ha. Next thing, like he says, oh my God. I go, what? He says, I've seen Archangel Michael. And I knew he must have been real, because he just a minute ago said they don't exist, and making fun of me and laughing so hard. And then he goes, oh crap. Like, did you see that? Did you see that? I go, what are you talking about? That was Archangel Michael. And what did he say? He said, would you listen to her, man? She's telling the truth. Because Michael just told me, Alan, he's saying that he's worked with you in other lifetimes, that he's really close to you, that you on the other side, you're together, and you've always been together. Anyway, I told him they were really close, and he was like, and when he appeared, and Michael said, listen to her, she's telling the truth. And after that, Alan did see him on occasion, and he would come through and talk to Alan. But it was so funny. And then when Alan crossed over and went to their side, Archangel Michael came to me and said, Pam, could you please find Alan something to do? Because he's driving me crazy up here. I go, what? He's driving me crazy. He's following me all over heaven, because he wants to learn. He wants to do whatever. He's just following me everywhere. He's driving me nuts. Could you find him some work to do? He says, because I told him, dude, I came to visit you when you're in a body, and you just ignored me. I was visiting you so we wouldn't have to go through this. And now you're following me all over the place. It's like, Like he was like so frustrated, and I was laughing so hard. So I said, Alan, why did you? At the time, I said, Alan, he's showing up to you to engage with you, and Alan wasn't getting into it. You know, how many people would have an angel show up and then say, "Oh yeah," and just carry on, carry on,
Yeah,
like nothing happened.
Alan and Michael are pretty close friends, and it was very interesting when, remember the reading Alan was giving me, because Michael went and told him, she's not listening to me, she's not practicing talking to me, or she has to spend at least some time talking to me, and this and that, and that's something. And so he was entrusted with giving me a reading.
Yeah, that reading was for both of
There,
you.
Michael went
Both
on
not
to
listening
give
to
us both, me and Alan, like
Yeah.
you both, everything was applicable to us both, and it was so funny because Alan was saying, he's saying, you know, that, okay, why don't we both just take 10 minutes each day and talk to him?
Well,
oh my goodness, it was so funny.
That brings us, somebody asked a question. Lena asked a question, but I want to start taking questions right now, but you can stay on, Swati, and Maria and Shaun, you can jump in too. But Lena was asking, I think she's talking about communication with someone on the other side. Like it kind of is, well, I know what this is. Like it's kind of, it seems in and out. Like how come sometimes I can hear them and sometimes I can't, and like what's going on? Like it's not always consistent or prevalent. So, you know, what would you say to that? I know what I can say in my experience, but because I found out.
Does she mean with the departed loved ones or with the angels?
I believe so. I believe with her loved one, because I know she's trying to connect with her loved one. Because with Alan, you know, he had issues about talking to me. Because we had issues to clear. That's what people don't understand. Sometimes there's residual issues to clear that could be blocking them from coming through. And on top of the fact that they need to learn to come through. I mean, that's a whole other thing, but they could be hesitant, like, I don't want to see the wrong thing. You know, she's grieving or she's upset, or I just don't want to go there. So there's so many reasons. Are there other reasons you could share that it might mean why it's kind of intermittent?
There's the reasons that come to my mind is that with the departed loved ones, it's a learning process on both sides, us and them trying to connect, and connecting is like a radio tuning into the right station, and both of us have to connect. So sometimes it's very easy and sometimes it's not. And like Pam said, sometimes they are afraid of hurting you or you're grieving. So sometimes our grief can get in the way, and you will notice that our loved ones seem to talk very easily with others than with ourselves. And there is absolutely, because the grief is, that block of grief is not there. So it's very easy for them to connect to everybody else. But as the grief clears and as they learn and we learn, then it becomes easier and easier and easier to connect all the time, anytime. Just like now, you know, talking to Alan is like nothing. It's easy, anytime. Just like that, even all of them, anyone can do it. It's just a matter of tuning it up and getting used to it, both the sides.
Well, you helped me when I was starting out with this, because you helped me understand that it could take time to be more telepathic, you know, so I was writing his communication, and he's since told me that he suggests people start that way, like writing, because everyone can do that, because it's a different way that they communicate when they're coming through our writing than when it's, you know, like mind to mind. And plus he says when it's mind to, okay, also he's saying when it's through our mind, you know, they'll tell us something and then you forget it. Like, oh, what did they say? That was so amazing. And he wanted me to have it written down so I could go back and read it. And because the energy is in there. Like I could feel the love there. I could feel, and I would remember what he said, which is important. So a lot of times he'd say, no, don't try to talk to me, just write. Like, write, I want you to talk to me by writing. And then gradually it was more like talking to him. And now he's saying, could you go back to writing?
Writing helps, Pam. Automatic writing helps because it comes so fast and furious, as you've seen. When we start writing, our conscious mind is not able to analyze and think, what if I'm hearing, am I hearing right, or am I not hearing? All those processes cannot come in the way because you write so fast at that time. And then you go back and read and see, oh, well, okay, there are all these messages. So that's why writing is much easier.
Sure. And also he's saying that it because you're bringing their words into 3D world, like here's their message, you're making them more real in your experience. So if you had a journal, let's say, of messages from Al, I never did this, but messages from Alan or something, right? I'm making it real. I'm saying, here's his messages, here's his communication to me. It's not just all going on in my head in one ear out the other, and I don't have any memory of it. You know, it's hard because for me anyway, I kind of go in a kind of an altered state. I still do that sometimes when they talk to me, and I'll just like fall asleep. I'll go, wait a minute.
And then big chunks of that communication is gone when you have returned to the beta state of mind.
Right.
Then whatever you've talked in the theta and the alpha has suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
And that's actually when my mom grabbed my arm. I was writing an email to my sister and she grabbed my left arm. And so literally, and I still have a copy of the email. It took me a while to get up the nerve to send it to her, but literally I started writing the email. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. Mom just grabbed my arm. And it was because I was writing, and it was the first experience. And what's cool is about being, so analytical. I was still questioning it, but I went to make a coffee afterwards, and the hair on my left arm that she grabbed was standing straight up, and the hair on the right arm was just flat, normal. And so to me, to my science, I'm like, okay, so you did come in filled with some sort of an energy or contact with an energy field. So to me, that was my first physical proof.
Physical proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing I was going to say, you can still mourn your loved one. You don't have to be completely grief-free.
Of course.
To hear them.
Oh.
Sometimes people misconstrue that. It's more if we're not letting them go, if we're not accepting they have transitioned, they're not going to be, the relationship has now changed. That is the more important, because we can still, I looked at some photos of my mom, I don't know, a month ago. And, I still miss her and mourn her, but I accepted that the relationship's now different. So
I think that helps is that you've built you're creating new memories with your mom. You have in the now, and that's what we need to do to break free of the grief, because grief is really being locked in the past and saying like, oh, I wish it was there. I wish he was still here.
Yeah.
I wish I was back there. I wish, you're all looking at the past, right? But of course you are, because you don't feel you have them here. But when you start building new experiences of them here, whether it starts by writing, talking to them, maybe going to Medium, whatever it is, you start saying, all right, I'm going to create a new present, a new life with them now. Then that starts to fade. It's not, you still get sad, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't be overwhelming grief, because you start, it's like it's kind of, what I was showing me, it's like you're moving away from that. It's more in the distance. Whereas when grief is fresh, it's like it's right here. Like you're just right here. You can't get away from it. It just starts to fade, and you're moving forward into this new experience. And you're looking forward to what else is going to happen. Because now you're living in the moment, and a little bit, of course, in the future, because you're looking forward to what will happen next, rather than moaning about what's gone. Yes. That's why people can get stuck in grief for like 10, 20, 30, 40 years, like because they're living forever until they leave.
Sometimes forever.
And it doesn't have to be.
And that's also when it's self-centered, because like in the case of my niece, she's happy to be out of here. She's been wanting out of here for a long time. And so to mourn her that's not what she wants.
They don't want us to be grieving like that. They all want us to be happy.
And Alan, one of the things that I see now, how cleverly he took care of your grief right from day one, was by making you laugh. And because laughter and joy have a very high vibration, extremely high vibration. And when he made you laugh like that, you and me laughing like that, that's why I remember you saying so many times to me, Pam, I don't feel grief. I don't feel sad. I'm getting happier and happier. What's happening to me? He was making you laugh and making you cut through all of that. And it was just amazing.
And I still had my grief, like you told me I
Yes.
would, but it was less and less and less. It kept
Less and less.
going down, and the intensity of it wasn't the same. And I thought, this is so crazy. I don't feel like I'm grieving like a regular person. And then I started feeling different and looking different. And I realized he's just pouring his love into me and just yeah, lightening me up. But he was, and I want to share this with people who are trying to make that connection. He was really trying to make me come alive and make me feel, right, as you said. And he did that through music. He did that through making me listen to songs, because the songs can be encoded. He was saying, yeah, he would put in his love and other messages and energies and whatever you want to call it. Okay, it's all good stuff. But he was doing that to make me feel and come open up to being fully alive, because most people are dead. He says, I was dead, you know, and I had to be kind of dead to take care of him. And a lot of us are like that. We're shut down. So they are fully alive over there. They're high level empaths. They feel deeply. And most of us don't feel like that, even if we're an empath, which, by the way, I'm not strongly anyway. But even if you're a strong empath, chances are you still shut some of that away, shut that down. You're not comfortable with it. They over there, oh, it's wide open. Like they just feel whatever they feel. They get upset, they get sad, but they let it all blow through them. They're not worried about it, not attached to it, not afraid to cry, not afraid to feel whatever. And he said to me, if you want to be with me, you have to be alive, or you can't feel what I feel. I want you to experience me. So I went through all that, and I'd cry and then laugh. It was just crazy, but I felt and do feel more alive. And I really am not depressed at all. I go through challenges with him. I have been, I probably will in the future. That's different. It's so different. It's hard to explain, but you just are in this different place where you know who you are, and that's why I said I feel like this is a spiritually transformative experience, connecting with a loved one on your side who truly can love unconditionally and can activate that within ourselves to love ourselves unconditionally, and then others, because I feel this unconditional love for other people more than I ever felt before. It's not just for him, it's not just for myself, it's for everyone. So he said that is the power of connecting with a loved one on your side, that they will give you their love and activate that within you, and then you can share that with the world. And that would be how we heal the world, that through that, and that they want to help us with that. And usually there are very few people in the physical world around us who can love us unconditionally. That's just how it is, right? People are still learning. So they love us as best they can, but they quite often cannot really meet that true unconditional love like someone on the other side can. So all of you have that to look forward to.
Yes.
I promise you.
Lena has asked, how do I get messages to him? Does he auto write? Lena, no, actually they are, because just like Pam was just explaining how they are open completely, their senses, all their non-physical senses, because they are non-physical, they're completely open. Your thoughts, even when you think, he can hear you. When you speak, you can speak aloud to him, he can hear you. Getting messages to him is not a problem. It's him getting his messages to you that can sometimes be a problem, that can be a block because of the learning process between us, both of us.
That's true. So learning to meditate would help. Just having quiet time where you just sit and receive, because most of us are so busy and we're thinking, go. You kind of have to shift gears and just relax. Like I spend a lot of time usually talking to Alan before I get up in the morning and when I go to sleep at night, and other times too, but just, hearing him talk, but sometimes he'll say, could you just get up and sit in the chair?
Oh my God. When Pam and I are talking at night, late at night, and he wants to get rid of me because he wants to go and talk to Pam, he starts starts telling me, he starts throwing a tantrum to me. Can you keep quiet now? Don't talk anymore. I want to go and talk to Pam now. So he basically tells me to just keep quiet and go away. And it's very funny.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Well, he's funny. They won't all do that, but
Yes.
but yeah, they can hear. I know they hear our thoughts, read our thoughts, and you don't have to worry about can they hear you. It's can you hear them? And
Yeah.
so just so he's putting in my head I'll talk about this, but I don't want to go too into it. Shaun knows, Shaun and Maria and I were, and you, Swati, we watched a movie called Living with Ghosts. And in
Yes.
that, only reason I'm mentioning it is because this elderly woman, grandmother, I don't know how she got the idea that she would start channeling her dead husband. Because how many grandmothers all of a sudden decide I'm going to channel on their own? Like, I tell her to channel, and
It was
just
through a
did it
book.
herself. She did
That
it
was a
herself.
book. Yeah, she learned it from a book.
She learned it from a
That
book.
movie is really good. I hope you will.
Well,
You'll do that.
we'll see what
do it,
happens
yeah.
with that movie. But
Pretty good.
basically, what I want to say is that she just started writing to her husband. Like she'd sit and say, "Okay, are you here?" I think she kind of did that, like in the movie, showing like, "Are you here?" Maybe you can use a pendulum and say, "The pendulum say, is he here?" or whatever, or just feel that he's here. And she started to take down what he was saying or ask him questions about her life, ask anything, and just writing. And Alan's saying to me that even if you think you're making it up, don't worry about it. If you just keep writing it, they're going to put their information in there. They're going to get their messages in there. Don't think that they're going to just stand there and let you talk right to yourself. Because it's like he would tell me, do you really think that I'm going to stand here and let you talk to yourself in your mind and not say anything? He goes, no, I'm going to jump in there and put my message in there. So don't even think you're making it up. You can't make it up because I'm not going to let you make it up. And that's kind of how they are. So even if the beginning you think you're making up, don't worry about it. Just keep writing, like that woman did. And she had a stack of legal pads, like all of his writing, and she put it in a book even. And so, and Alan's saying, you know what you guys should do? Just write your own book. Write your own book about your relationship with your loved one on the other side and take down what they're trying to tell you, just like we're writing a book, okay? Write your own book. You don't have to publish it, it's just for you. Sure, write your book, have them talk to you, have them explain things to you, have them teach you. Like, why not? Like, why not write your own book? And now he's saying, yeah, we're going to lead them in doing that in our course. That's going to be one of the things we're going to do, is help people write their own book. And also, as Swati knows, help them manifest the perfect future that they want with their loved one on the other side, because they can create that for themselves. Okay, but yeah, they're there, and it's just up to us to just let them in and just believe. And I know it's hard sometimes, but just believe. And in time, you build enough memories that you go, okay, I know this is real. I know something's happening. I can't. But you still will have moments. I think as long as we're in a body, right, Swati, you're still going to think, well, but maybe, because you're human and we're being affected by the collective consciousness that tells us that this can't be real. Come on, so we have to push that aside and go, no, but I know what I feel. I know what I experience, and create more memories until we don't even need that anymore. Probably like the grandmother. I'm sure she didn't need anybody to tell her anything anymore. She knows what she's experiencing.
There was one thing that helped me when I started even doing readings with even with angels. So I would be too afraid to do readings for anybody. And I wasn't doing it. I kept waiting. No, when I get more prepared, and I wouldn't do it. So then Michael asked me, okay, what's your problem again? We had a talk. I said, what if I'm wrong? So he said to me, he said, so dare to be wrong. And that took away the fear somehow. Just dare to be wrong, because unless we dare to be wrong and are willing to be wrong, we can't be right. We've got to do it. Even the most accomplished psychics, I've heard that somewhere, I don't know where they got this from, that they are in the best of their days also, they're 80%, about 80% right. So it's okay to be wrong, but just do it. And like Pam was saying, when you start writing, yes, there will be some of it your own your own thoughts too, but your loved one is going to insert their thoughts in there too. And the more you practice this, the clearer it gets. So dare to be wrong. Please dare to be wrong. Go ahead and dare to be wrong.
Yeah,
Dare
that's what
yourself to be wrong.
that's what Alan told me too. He says, even if you're not hearing me 100% clearly, who cares? Just keep talking, because you'll never will hear me more clearly if you don't keep talking. So you have to not care that you're not getting it all right. You just like you have to be okay that you're going to fall off the bicycle a few times before you really start being able to ride it. You can't go, well, I don't want to start riding because I could fall off. Well, you're going to fall off. Just get over that, fall down a few times, keep going. It's like that. You know, he told me, just keep talking. Stop asking Swati what I'm saying. Start talking to me. Like, don't talk to her anymore. No, he didn't really say that, but he says, yes, I did. He said, yes, I did tell you that.
He
I told
did.
you not
He
to
did.
talk to her anymore.
He did. Because in the beginning, you would say things, you would hear something from him, and then you would ask me, I'm hearing this, but can you ask and see if I'm hearing it right? And after some time,
I know.
remember, he told you, oh, she's going to move away for a while. She's not going to be talking to you. Or he made it sound very
Yes,
mysterious because he knew.
yeah.
He knew that if he tells you that he told me to shut up, then you're going to get mad at him.
Yeah.
So basically, he just told you she's going to move away and made it sound very mysterious. So I had to move away and keep quiet till you start talking and stop asking me for confirmation.
Okay, I'm still looking at questions here.
Yeah, you know, I was just gonna, so you guys are actually answering Karen Michelle's message, if you noticed, because Karen Michelle has had many NDEs and everything, STEs. She literally plays the harp with messages from the other side. But her mom and friend has passed on. Her mom just passed like last week, right, Karen? And so if you guys can talk more to her and explain to her what you're saying about how, like what you were just saying, Swati, about sometimes you hear Alan and Pam doesn't.
Yeah, because Swati's wasn't deep in grief, but okay, and in my case right now, until recently, he had issues about really talking to me. You know, that's a whole other story. So in other words, we don't know what is underlying the dynamics of each relationship that could be unique, right? So it's not always, can't be a blanket thing like, well, always it's like this or like that. It's individual, but also they have to, they're not all, okay, he's telling me not all souls are ready when they cross over to come and talk right away, whether it's in a week or two or even a month or even a year. I have somebody, a couple of people I read for where the person on your side, they're not ready to talk and it's been a while. Okay, and we don't know, you don't know. That's why you can't guarantee that they're going to come through or they're going to talk to the medium or talk to the loved one. You know, it's hard to say, but Alan's saying to me, but they will hear us, okay, because they can and they want to, but they may not be able to communicate. And let me see, Donna asked, don't we remember skills from each time we have been in spirit form? Wouldn't we pick up wherever we left off with our skills? Okay, he's telling me it's not as simple as that. You have to think of it this way. Like, yeah, yes and no. Like you think of like how many lifetimes that person has had. Like how many, you know, and they learned all kinds of skills. So they're going to go back to the other side and then take on, I don't know, 20 skills that they used to have. He says they'll pick up what they want to pick up and let go what they don't want to let go. You know, they do what they want, or they'll go do something new. Or now they said, oh, I always wanted to learn how to knit. So I'm going to learn to knit, even though I have all this other skill in this other department. I want to do this now. So, you know, all that is accessible to them, but whether they'll take on something they learned like just in this life or not, that's up to them. Does that make sense, Swati? It's like, well,
it does.
They have choice for everything. They could do anything.
Exactly. They have the choice. And the other thing, Pam, is like you've noticed, we've all seen that when they just cross over, they are still so connected to the human realm.
Yeah.
Just like you are grieving here, they are grieving seeing you grieve. So there is a lot of emotions. So the emotions get in their way too. So they have to learn to let go. They move through those layers again, once again, from human to, spirit, and then they're still having some of the humanness, and then going higher and higher in vibration.
Higher.
The higher they get, the easier it gets for them. But in the beginning, they are dealing with their emotions too. And most of the emotions is just seeing you so feel like that. And they just want to hold you and tell you, hey, I'm here, listen, I'm here. And you can't, and it distresses them when people can't hear.
Yeah, they get. I've read where they many times where they get very frustrated. Like, why can't she see me? Like, why can't he hear me? And it upsets them. And Ellen showed me. He showed me what he felt like when he came back to me, and he thought that I'd be able to hear him or something. Didn't realize that the grief would make it hard. So he was frustrated. Like, how come she can't hear me? She's clairaudient. She's psychic. Like, what? And he was so frustrated, and it would hurt him. I mean, it would be sad because he just left, right? But he knew, he figured it out. But so it could be so many things like that. Like and a lot of times, of course, they'll try to just come through and say, I'm here, I'm okay. So they may have a visitation, but they don't have enough energy maybe to stay and really talk, or they're just saying, I'm here, and then they back off. And there's so many dynamics involved, I think, with what he's telling me, that he can't really explain, like why some will show up to people and some won't, and some of them have a great deal of psychic energy and they can do that. They can give the person a hug, or some of them can't, or they'll move something else, but he says, yeah, it's hard on them too. And he showed me that for a long time he was sad, and that's why he sent me songs saying how emotional he was, that he was always watching me and crying a bit and hoping that I would hear him and be able to connect. And so I think we forget that they're still human on the other side. They're not in this altered state, like, kumbaya, like they're just over there, like everything's perfect. Like they're going through their own thing. They're still grieving, they're still adjusting. Of course, they have no pain, and of course they're in a good place, but they worry about us. And when they see us grieving, especially if on some level they feel like they had something to do with our suffering, like maybe they weren't really completely nice to us when they were here, like somebody I know, they feel guilt and remorse. Many of them feel guilt and remorse, and they want. And I've heard from people who say, how come my husband, like a woman didn't want to hear from her husband, like he was so mean to her, but he wanted so much to make it up to her, right? He feels so bad, and she didn't want anything to do with him. Ellen would talk about reading, mediumship readings they do, and this one woman, he and Barbara did a reading with Barbara was his friend that they did readings together, platform mediumship readings, and he said, we have this gentleman here, I believe it's your husband. This woman sitting in the front row or something. And she goes, well, which one? I had 5 husbands. So they described the husband, right? And she goes, oh, that one? I don't want to have anything to do with him. He was a jerk. I don't want to talk to him. They were like, oh no, because the husband is right there saying, but I want to apologize. I want to say I'm sorry. She goes, forget it. Like, and she just had nothing to do with him. I've heard that's a version of that story many times. But the loved one comes through and the person in the body says, I'm still mad at you. Go away. Like, leave me alone. But they want to.
It's good that you brought that up, because if we have resentment issues or we have unhealed stuff, on particular things, that is another reason why they may be talking to somebody else and not us. So actually, forgiveness, the more forgiveness work we do, the more it raises our Kundalini energy and everything.
That's right.
And then we can hear them. But if we're sitting here pissed off about what they still did to us, it's going to be hard to hear what they are saying.
That happens more often, I think, than people realize, that we feel conflicted because we miss them. So we're feeling that, right? Like, oh, I miss him. I love him so much. And then we're like, oh, but wait a minute. He was such a jerk. Like, there's still that part coming up. And it gets in the way, eventually you just go, whoa, I can't be feeling both. And they're not going to feel welcomed to come in because we haven't harmonized our emotions, right? So yeah, we have to take responsibility for that.
And when we're doing that, we're in the past.
Yeah.
You don't hear your loved ones unless you're in the present. If you're in the past, you won't hear anything. So
You have to
whenever
be-
we're blaming or judging or in grief, we're really in the past.
And I think it's hard because people have all these weird misconceptions that have been told about the other side, like that they're so changed, they have no problems, they're different, and yeah and no, yes and no, like yeah, but they're still human, and yeah, but they still, some of them are still got problems, some of them, it's all over the map. Some of them are really highly evolved now, some of them are still working through it. There is no one size fits all. So I hope we answered this
I
question.
also find that sometimes you don't get their messages in words. I've gotten it like, it feels like it's a ball of emotion that you have to unravel and
Right.
make it into words. And that can take a little bit of work getting to that. But you get used to it. So.
Yeah, right. That's right. Well, it's easier for them to communicate in feelings and emotion that they all can do. And they do that. And it is easy. He also says it is easy for them to talk to us in our mind. It's just that for most of us, we just think we're talking to ourselves. So, but that's not necessarily true. They probably are talking to us in our mind, and we're thinking that so that's why with our students, we tell them to try this exercise, like try to have a two-way conversation with yourself. I mean, really two-way, right? It's really hard, unless he says maybe you're, I don't know, schizophrenic or something. I don't know, but it's really hard to have a full-fledged dialogue with yourself. How the heck do you do that? You have to get it. Now, I want to address this. This is related to what Lena is asking, like, how about the other direction? When she writes, sometimes she hears from him, like the messages come through. But how do I get messages to him? So what we're talking about with the writing thing is you might ask the question in your mind of your loved one, or write down on the piece of paper or your computer, write the question. And you're asking the question, you write their answer. You step into them, you start writing whatever the answer is that comes to you after you ask the question, and just let it go. Just get into this habit of having a dialogue where you're writing both sides of the dialogue. That's what channeling in this case is, that you're asking your question and having the exchange, and you're going back and forth. Okay, and it might take time to get in the flow of that, but they can, and he says they will, give you their message. Or you might, he's saying also that you just might have a flash of an image, you might get something clairvoyantly where he's showing you something, or feeling something. Okay, you just know that when you ask the question, whatever happens next is from your loved one. And you sit with that for a while. And it might take a while for this to really start flowing and for it to be consistent every day or whenever you do it. But the more you do it and are okay again about being wrong, he's saying wrong, but not wrong, that you're okay with that it'll get stronger, and you'll feel like, oh yeah, that's him. And that makes sense, or that is his sense of humor, or that is what, I forgot that happened, or I forgot that is how he would say something. You just have to just keep doing it and not, second guess yourself or doubt. Just do it for the joy of it, even if it's just for the sake of feeling connected to them. And now we're going to
also your dreams.
Yeah.
Because like Beth Olson, if you guys know, her and her husband, they lost their kids in a car wreck 22 years ago. And so he can hear the kids, she can't, but the kids speak to her in the dreams, and he can hear them when he's awake. So yeah, don't forget your dreams. Yes,
it's easy for them to come in our dreams, especially lucid dreams, right, Swati? Like you guys want to really connect with them, learn lucid dreaming. I did have a lucid dream of Alan, very brief. Unfortunately, he said, okay, you saw me, but you got to wake up because you got to take the car into the repair shop. I was like, oh, but you did it. See, you can do it again. Just keep trying. So I know there's more questions here, but we want to get to the readings, I feel, because we're down to the last hour. I mean, I'm willing to go a little over the hour, but I'm not going to speak for my dear friends here, but not too much over the next hour.